It's time for another episode of Rocky Mountain Gamers. I'm Mark Cameron,
And I'm LBabinz.
and we welcome you on the first day of a very exciting week. You call it a week as long as you know you're splitting it between 2 weeks. It was Summer Game Fest, kicked off today. Games Fest, because it's about all kinds of games. And we got games today. We got some nice announcements. We got some interesting new things to talk about. And we saw a few things. Both Babs and I were tuning in and we were chatting while the Summer Games Fest was going on. What did you think of the show?
The show, again, I'm excited about this whole week, right? And I think they're not going to go too heavy on the first day. I thought it was a big improvement over last year. There was some interesting games shown and some good news and everything. I felt like it was a tiny bit slow myself. Not that I didn't enjoy the whole thing, and it
so
definitely
nice.
ended super strong.
You can tell which one of us is Canadian because I thought it was a snore fest. I really did.
There was definitely a bit
not
of
the games themselves, the pacing and the presentation and the lack of interjections. Love Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley's awesome. If you're seeing this, Jeff, always like you, man. But yeah, this reminded me of the Game Awards, the first Game Awards after they left Spike TV. And
yeah,
they
I mean,
moved to an online show. Just there was no rhythm. There was no rhythm at all.
It did feel a little slow for sure. The pacing just didn't seem to move super fast for me, or would move too fast at some points. Like when they were showing off the new publisher they were talking about, it was just blam 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 blam, like games in your face, and
Yeah,
and it was almost confusing in that sense.
new publisher and a new developer, both.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The new publisher, interesting because we're going to get things like we're going to get some existing franchises from them. They picked up Payday and they picked up King's Bounty, which is cool. They didn't have a lot to say though. They just kind of, oh, we're a publisher and we are going to publish all these games.
Yeah.
And then with the developer, the new developer is Deviation Games, and sounds like they got some good pros working there. From the pictures they showed, it looked to me like they had a lot of employees.
But has to be a big studio when they announced they're going to be working with PlayStation, right? With Sony.
Yeah, and then they revealed that they didn't say they were owned by Sony. They said they had a partnership with Sony.
Yes.
Which is usually the first step. That's how Insomniac was for a long time. That's how Naughty Dog was for a long time. Still makes them a first or a second party studio. And they're working on a new IP, which is awesome. I like new IPs. They seemed hyped about that. That's awesome. They didn't have anything to show yet. Understandable, particularly if it's a big idea. If it's a AAA game, takes some time. You don't want to show it off prematurely. But it was a little awkward. It's like, hi, we're the new guys. We'll show you something someday. And that was it. I think it's a good announcement for Sony. Particularly Microsoft, as many acquisitions as Microsoft has had, and then the bombshell that was Bethesda. Sony needs some good action there, but it's tough when you're not showing anything.
Yeah, I mean, Sony's basically saying they have a new developer that's working on a cool new IP for them. They're obviously proud of it and excited about it. They put up a blog on their PlayStation blog. So I think this is actually kind of a big deal. But it didn't necessarily come across as a big deal, again, because there was nothing to show, right? But I think it is a big deal.
I think the other problem was this wasn't a Sony showcase. There wasn't a lot of other Sony stuff. There's a little bit of Ratchet and Clank. And literally, Sony's a partner on Summer Games Fest. and that was it. There wasn't a lot of Sony there.
True.
They didn't even talk about Horizon, which they did in their last state of play, so I understand. So kind of throwing this in there, it wasn't really in place with everything else that was going on. And I think that hurt it too. It
For
was
sure.
just,
Yeah. I mean,
look at the new games, look at the new games, look at the new games. And we have a new developer and they're making a game. And now let's look at some more games that you can actually see. So I don't know that their timing or their venue was really the right place to get the pop they wanted from it.
well, there was a couple of kind of their non-game announcements, right? Like there was a new
Yeah,
developer announced, there was a new publisher announced, and they even went into Ryan Reynolds and his new movie there, right? Like that
true.
wasn't all games, right?
But it's a game-based movie.
Yeah.
But no, your point is well taken there. They tried to mix it up a little. I don't know. I don't know what I'd have done different, but I'd have done something different.
Yeah, I was lacking a little punch or something.
Yeah, it was, hey kids, come out and meet our friends. Okay, now go back to your room. So that aside, we did have some fun games.
Absolutely.
Which they started off with a game that was a terribly kept secret, has been rumored for a while. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands from Gearbox. A spin-off of the Borderlands series. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't look anything like a Borderlands game, didn't have the Borderlands name on it. Other than Tiny Tina to tie it in. Wow, say that 10 times. It looks cool though. It's fantasy theme, more fantasy than science fiction. There was no claptrap in sight. It has some big voice actors behind it, actors behind it doing voice work. Andy Samberg from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Will Arnett from Lego Batman, Arrested Development, and Wanda Sykes, New Adventures of Old Christine, and all kinds of stand-up, all kinds of different TV shows and movies, along with Ashley Bush, who is the voice of Tiny Tina. And it's an adventure game. There's going to be magic in it, and there's going to be character customization, which you don't get. It's different in Borderlands than what they're talking about here, and dragons and lots of adventure. So honestly, if it keeps that sense of humor that Borderlands has, I'm really looking forward to it, because I prefer the fantasy to the science fiction a lot of times in games. I like swinging a sword.
Absolutely. And actually, I think that's kind of the way they're going. I don't know if you got the same feel from it, but it felt to me like they were really playing to the voice actors and the personalities in this game. Like it was going to be like a lot of fun, with some great voicing and, probably, just a good character feel to it. And I'm with you in the same way. I really like the fantasy setting better. So I'm curious to see what we get out of this. It looks pretty cool so far, and I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah, gorgeous graphics. Gorgeous graphics were kind of the norm for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that a little bit more, but from there, and excuse us for going too fast, but there's just a lot to cover tonight. From there, the next one that really caught my eye, I think, was the Planet of Lana.
Mm-hmm.
2D side scroller and just stunning graphics.
Oh yeah, like I think they've said that it's basically hand. I don't know if it is, but it looks hand painted.
Yeah.
All of the graphics, but the animation that ties in those hand painted graphics is just looks stunning in motion. And the environment looks so cool too. Like it looks again like it starts very peaceful and calm, and suddenly they almost look like rockets come firing down on the planet.
Like a missile
And then
strike.
suddenly there's robots going around, and they're walking through the forest, and there's such cool stuff happening. This is something I'm definitely going to play 100%.
Kind of reminded me a little of Inside
Mm-hmm.
and games like that. But yeah, just beautiful, beautiful stuff. The last
Oh,
time a game like that kind of caught my eye as much was Grizz.
that's exactly what I thought of when I seen it. I'm like, this is going to be a feel good game. Like you're going to feel the emotion in the game through the art style, through the music, through the minimalist story potentially. It looks really good.
I could not agree more. They showed us some games in here early on that I'm interested in and intrigued by, but not as much as some of the others. I know the director's cut of Death Stranding caught your eye.
It did, just because of the way they announced it. Again, you had the conversation between Hideo Kojima and Jeff there, and I'm like, what are they going to do? And they kind of just chat because they seem like friends, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly at the end, Kojima is like, nope, we got something to show for sure. And that was crazy, is you immediately got Metal Gear Solid vibe from what they were showing.
Oh,
but
yeah, from the overlook of the warehouse and the patrolling guards.
Totally. And then, of course, in true Metal Gear Solid fashion, he comes across a cardboard box, and I'm like, oh, I see where this is going. And then they further joked on it that you couldn't figure out the box, to kind of get it working the way they wanted to.
Sits in it.
Oh, totally. Hilarious. And then they go right into announcing the Death Stranding director's cut, which is very interesting to me because that's been on my playlist.
Mine too.
The forever, never-ending backlog. So maybe this will be a good chance for me to actually play it on the PS5. I'm interested to see what potential new features or new story or DLC or what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, director's cut, there's going to be something extra.
There has to be something, right? It's not a straight up next gen upgrade. It's something else.
Yeah, they just call it remastered or UHD or something.
Yeah, totally. So I think that's actually interesting as well.
I enjoyed him poking a little bit of fun at himself. Occasionally, Kojima-san can be a little self-serious, but not today. And I like that. The little I have played, I've only dabbled. Death Stranding is a weird game.
Yeah, it looks pretty weird.
And just seeing him, joke and bring in some Metal Gear humor, and I think that was really fun.
That was fun.
Another game that they kind of flew by, there was definitely a what was Metal Slug Tactics.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
And I'm of the age with Metal Slug, that was my early 20s when the Neo Geo was hot and they kept putting new Metal Slug games in the Neo Geo arcade unit.
Right.
And it was a really good option for people who like Contra.
Mm-hmm.
They were very Contra-like games. And to see that taken and made into a strategy game was really interesting. I wish they would have actually shown a little bit more. And I'm hoping they do. Sometime this coming weekend, there's a little bit deeper dive pops up somewhere. It's hard to say, but I like the idea of taking the Metal Slug world and putting it into a strategy game.
Yeah, I wish I could have been in that boardroom when people were, brainstorming, and they're like, what if we take Metal Slug, and we make a tactical game out of it. I don't know how that came to be, but I'm glad it did, because it looks super cool, and it actually looks like it fits beautifully in the genre. But yeah, that's pretty out of nowhere. Again, I would have loved to have been at that brainstorming session. I'm definitely interested in seeing more of that. I'm assuming it'll be cross-platform, and I'll be able to play that on my Switch.
I think Switch was mentioned.
I think so, yeah. It's been a while since I played a game like that, and I'll definitely play a game that looks like that on the Metal Slug franchise. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on a little bit, let's move to a game that's actually coming out soon. There were a couple of games that are coming out soon. Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance. And they had a couple celebs playing it, and they showed it off a little bit, but I'm a big fan of the old Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games, which they just re-released, the first one of. And this looks like a good hack and slash action RPG. But what was actually lost on me before today, because I don't pay enough attention sometimes because I get busy. It stars a character named Drist, Dark Elf, who is the star of literally several dozen books by R.A. Salvatore. And, outside of the game of Dungeons and Dragons, he's the biggest, prefab character that's ever come. He's had just tons and tons of books written, and has a big following because of that. It's set in the world of Icewind Dale, which is a couple of games have been set there, but the most recent big D&D campaign was also set there, The Rise of the Frost Maiden. And it looks like they're really paying attention to the canon monsters, making them look right. On one of the trailers I caught today, I saw a beholder. And the different classes, the different races. It's also going to be multiplayer, and it looks like it's going to be a good multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean, you caught more than I did. For me, I'm just excited for Baldur's Gate type action RPG that you can play online with other people. I distinctly remember playing the original games on Xbox. Well, not the original games, but I remember playing games on Xbox and the Xbox 360. No, just Xbox. And everyone would just sit around on the couch. Everyone would have a controller, a wired controller, right?
Good couch co-op game.
Totally. And we'd play all night, and we'd have a beverage or whatever, and it was just good fun, and I haven't played a game like that.
They don't make enough of them.
What's that?
They don't make enough of them.
Oh, totally. It's been 20 years for sure. I feel like since I played a game like that, and now I can play a game like that on my couch with friends across the world, right?
Right.
And that is really neat to me. I'm definitely going to give this one a try. And I don't even have that in-depth knowledge of the franchise or the lore behind it. But man, I just want to get together with some people and, hack and slash, right?
Well, and the best part, it's a bargain game.
Yeah, it is a bargain game.
US price on it's $40.
Yeah, and I actually think it's $40 here in Canada too. We get the exchange rate break.
Nice.
Which happens.
Has to happen once in a while.
Oh yeah, it does. And I love it when it does. I'll take any break I can get, Yeah, $39.99 in Canada as well.
That's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
So you and I are gonna have to make sure we both get the Switch version so we can play a little bit online.
Yeah, is it cross-platform or only...
I don't know, but I know it's coming on Switch, so who cares?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, no, see, I'm not seeing it on Switch. I'm only seeing PS5, PS4, and Xbox
Really?
in the listings. Maybe it's coming later on Switch. I'm not sure.
I thought it was coming right away on Switch.
Because that would be a great Switch game to play on handheld.
Yeah, I thought it was coming right away. Now I gotta look. See,
And
this is what we do. This is the kind of podcast we have, guys. We get off on tangents because that's what we like to do.
well, it determines our going forward playing of Dark Alliance, right?
Exactly. Dark Alliance.
But if it's not on Switch,
PS5 and Series X.
yeah, I'm gonna lean towards PS5 on this one, I think.
You're right. I don't see Switch. I
Too
made a
bad. That'd be a great
mistake.
Switch game.
I really thought it was. Well, yeah, then we got to go PS5. How many
Yeah.
$40 PS5 games are there going to be?
Yeah, probably not that many.
The other one coming out real soon, Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin.
Yes, and I may be kind of on my own on this one, but I actually think that Monster Hunter Stories 2 is more exciting to me than Monster Hunter's Rise. I love an RPG in the Monster Hunter realm. And this one just looks really good. Like I currently own 3 copies of the 3DS original Monster Hunter Stories because everyone in the family had to play it. And so I have a feeling we're gonna end up owning 3 copies of Monster Hunter Stories 2 as well. And of course I have my amiibo pre-ordered and ready to go. And yeah,
And that one is on Switch, everyone.
that one is on Switch. Yes. Yes, definitely. It looks like a great RPG. Like I'm pretty pumped about this and very excited. I was surprised.
It looks really good.
Yeah, I was surprised that they showed the trailer here. Because what does that leave for the Capcom presentation? Or that would have been a good fit for the Capcom presentation, but
I think we'll see more of it at Capcom.
I hope so. I hope so.
And I'm sure Capcom has other tricks up their sleeve.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
They usually do. But I've only played Monster Hunter World, and I've just started playing around a little bit with Monster Hunter Rise. So I don't have a ton of experience with the franchise, and I'm not a huge multiplayer guy. I like to play multiplayer sometimes. I'm a big solo gamer. I game at weird hours, and it's just easier. And so the Monster Hunter games have been a little daunting because you really need multiplayer for some of those big hunts.
Oh, big time.
And I have a feeling that with Stories, I don't even know, does it support multiplayer?
No, I don't think so. Like Stories is it's
single
player RPG.
Yeah, that's more my jam.
Yeah, I think you're going to like this a lot, honestly.
Well, I have it on order with my amiibos also. So.
Perfect. Do you get the collector's edition?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, I jumped on that. In addition to games coming soon, we finally have a demo that is supposedly coming Tuesday the 15th for Tunic.
Right.
And this game debuted, I want to say they started talking about it in 2017. They dropped the trailer at E3 2018, and it's been very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a Zelda-like game starring a little fox, very cartoony, and I have wanted to play this game for a long, long time.
Absolutely. And what's interesting about it, they kind of moved through it quickly, but so this game, again, Tunic looks incredible, and it's incredible that we're going to be able to actually play a demo of it next week. But what was also cool is they casually mentioned that this is one demo happening at the ID at Xbox indie setup. And of course, right after they kind of announced this, Xbox put out a blog post saying there's going to be something like 40 playable demos
Yeah,
next
it
week.
sounds insane.
Yeah, so there's going to be some
And to
neat
tune into the
games.
ID at Xbox presentation to find out.
Yeah, absolutely. So more games to play, more great looking games. And this one
Absolutely.
looks incredibly cool. Like you said, it's a Zelda like. I immediately felt Zelda when I seen the trailer starting there.
It's like Tails getting a sword.
Yeah, it looks fun. I want to play something like this right away. Can't wait to try the demo.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that's my jam completely.
Absolutely my jam for sure.
One other game before we get on to the big reveal was Evil Dead, the game, which I'll tell you right now, I love the way that game looks, which is good because I've been working behind the scenes on it for 3 years with the group. I'm a very, very minor part of the group. I'm not a programmer and I'm not a designer. I've been working in a support role with Boss Team Games. So we're not going to cover that game extensively. I feel it's kind of a conflict of interest. I don't want to screw up and say something I'm not supposed to say about the game, particularly before it comes out. And I will say I love Evil Dead, and the entire team behind it loves Evil Dead, and we're trying to put out a really great game there. But beyond that, I can't be impartial with it, so we're going to kind of pass on that. So anybody who I didn't want anybody to think it was weird that we weren't talking about it. I'm seeing a lot online, a lot of people, it's getting buzz from the trailer. So yeah, we're just going to kind of let it speak for itself.
Can I just quickly say though that the over like the monologue, the narration of it was hilarious and very entertaining in the middle of the
Bruce Campbell is a riot.
It was awesome. I love that part of it.
I don't think many people would disagree that Bruce Campbell is a riot.
For sure.
So there will be more coming out about that game. Just don't look for it here. Go to some other sites and other blogs and see what they have to say about it. And finally, we finally got a real trailer and a release date for Elden Ring.
And did you see how excited Jeff was?
Oh man.
Leading up to that, like you could tell he was just bursting with excitement to finally let it go. And what a relief to keep that a secret the whole time. And man, I'm glad he did, because wow, what a trailer.
Oh, it is one of the best looking games I've ever seen. If that is representative of what we're going to get, it's mind-meltingly beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Did you get a bit of a Shadow of Colossus vibe from it?
Here and there, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not sure what I was expecting. But
I don't know that there'll be any remotely Shadow of Colossus kind of gameplay, but it definitely had that sense of scale.
Yes, that's what it felt like. This really big bosses and fights. It just felt grand.
It's I don't know, it was awe-inspiring. Yes. I will say straight up, not the biggest fan of the Dark Souls genre of game, because I just don't have time. As I did in my youth, I would have loved it when I was younger, but the trial and error, die and repeat kind of game, I find myself getting too frustrated if I die too many times, and I just don't want to deal with that. So as you know, the only one I've beaten is Bloodborne. Brilliant game, but took me longer than I wanted to. I'm hoping there will be some variable difficulty with Elden Ring. but with From Software, as I was telling Babs earlier, I don't think From Software knows what easy mode is. Uh, so you seem pretty excited for it too.
It's one of those things for me too. I am an easy mode gamer now. Uh, Embarrassing as that maybe that is, but I'm
I'm
in
not
the same
embarrassed.
boat. Yeah, I'm not even embarrassed about it. I have limited amounts of time. My backlog is forever. And so I like to make some progress every time I sit down and play a game. But
Absolutely.
just looking at this game, I I have no doubt in my mind I'm going to buy it for starters. Now, how far I get into it, that's really the variable here. But I definitely know I'm going to have to fire it up just solely based on this trailer. Like, it just looks grand. It looks like something that needs to be played. And
I
so,
felt myself getting sucked in
yeah, I was
while
excited to
watching
watch
it.
it. Yeah, and um, there's some big names involved with that. I mean, that's George
Yeah.
R. R. Martin. I think
Yeah.
is some sort of a part in that.
I think he's responsible for the story part of it.
Right.
And one of the many things that has kept him from finishing a game of the last, second to last Game of Thrones book that's
Yes.
been hanging out there for ever.
Which will never come out.
I thought we'd see it this year. Sidebar. Um, but George R. R. Martin is involved with the story, and if it has some of his sensibilities, that would be great. But it's obviously high fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks high fantasy.
Definitely high fantasy.
So I'm not complaining about the look, and I'm not going to complain about how hard it is till after I try it.
Yes. And if they give me an easy mode, I will forever thank them for it.
Yes. Or even adjustable difficulty. How about that? Even if you die too many times, it dials it down a little tiny bit. That'd be nice.
I'll take
A
whatever I can get
little
at this
tiny
point.
bit, guys. Throw somebody a bone. There is no word as to whether or not it will have the same mechanic that the Dark Souls games had, where you can, see where other people are having difficulty and, leave hints for others who come along after you when you die in certain spots. That's completely unknown still.
Right.
So
And
this could be a big deviation from them in a lot of ways. So we're just going to have to wait and see what they deliver. We aren't going to have to wait very long. It's only about 7 months away. January 21st, 2022.
That was a surprising release date for me. Honestly, that's sooner than I was expecting.
That's a big game to release in January.
Absolutely.
Usually, if you have a game of that size, you're releasing between September and the beginning of November, or you're releasing March to get it in before your fiscal year closes. If anybody ever wondered why so many games release in March when they get delayed, that's where you delay a game as far as you can and get it on the books for the year that you're supposed to get it on the books. Because most game companies go from a fiscal year April to March.
Right. And that was kind of the joke going around the internet there, is that they announced the early or the late kind of January release date so that they have kind of that buffer room.
Right.
if they need to delay it a month or two, that's still getting it in by the end of the first quarter. And I'm okay with that as long as it, keeps doing what it's doing, because I want this to be a good game. It looks
I'd
great.
rather have the game good than fast.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
And that's probably because we're spoiled and we both have backlogs that we're never going to finish.
That's right. Buy me some more time to finish some other games.
long time. This is only our third episode. Wait until we hit episode 100, and you'll be able to go back and see that we talk about our backlogs almost every episode.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere fast.
No, and neither are our complaints.
No.
So, well, this week the excitement is just starting. Saturday is the proper start of E3 with Ubisoft, and Sunday we get Microsoft and Square Enix. Next Tuesday we have Nintendo. So what we're planning to do is accelerate our next couple of episodes, do one on Sunday and do one on Tuesday. If something huge happens outside of those days, we'll pop up and do a little brief something. But you can look for more videos of ours hitting in the nighttime those days. And then next Thursday, which is going to be our normal shooting day, I think we're going to take that day off. I think we're still going to be asleep.
I was going to say, we might sleep for a few days after the whole
E3
week is done.
Plus, I'm going to be wanting to really get into Ratchet and Clank by the time I get through E3. Because I'm not going to have a lot of time this weekend. So, as we like to do, talk about what we're playing. I'll go first this week, Lee.
Sure.
I finished my Spider-Man replay on PS5.
Nice.
And still brilliant. And I started the DLC, first playthrough through the DLC. I am on the first DLC mission of the first DLC pack, and it's kicking my butt. It's tough. You have to protect artwork from being stolen out of a museum. And I'm not dying or anything, but I'm having problems keeping all the artifacts. You know, I'll see a guy running for it and I'll try to zip web over to him and I'll hit the wrong guy. And the next thing I know, he's out the door and I failed the mission. So I haven't beaten that yet. I haven't spent hours and hours, but I haven't beaten that yet. I also haven't beaten Shin Megami Tensei 3. I thought I was at the end. I wasn't at the end. This seems like a pretty common theme in JRPGs.
That is a common theme.
So that's why you haven't seen the review yet. Hopefully that will be coming early next week. Sorry, I prematurely promised that. And then I made a huge mistake. When I should have been finishing Shin Megami Tensei, and I put it down because I was mad because it didn't finish where I thought it was going to finish. I bumped into, sitting in my backlog on my PS5, Ys 9 Monstrum Nox. And I thought, I'll just turn this on and play the very beginning of this. And chapter 1 is kind of short, which is nice for a Falcom game. Their chapters can be really long. But now I'm invested.
Yeah, 95 hours later,
and I don't know. It's not the same feeling I got with Ys 8. Ys 8, for sure, my favorite of the franchise so far, and one of the best games I ever played. Ys 9, I'm not sure yet because it's going in some different directions. So I will continue to play that. I think I'm going to try to put it down till I beat SMT3. And then I'll kind of juggle that and Spider-Man for a little bit. And hopefully, I'm sorry, I said Spider-Man. Ratchet and Clank. Probably going to put down the Spider-Man DLC for a little bit too. And juggle Ys and Ratchet and Clank, depending on what kind of game I want to play. July is going to be a brutal month. Actually, starting at the end of June. Between the end of June and the end of July, there's like 6 or 7 games coming out that I really want to play. So we're not getting a good summer break from releases, and we'll keep cranking. But I'll report more on Ys and Ratchet and Clank next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on those, actually.
And now, what are you playing? I hear you have made progress with Fantasian.
Well, okay, so the last time we chatted, basically Fantasian had opened up new gameplay mechanics and new worlds and all sorts of new stuff. I'm like, okay, this is going to go for a little while longer. And then it abruptly ends. And I guess I don't want to get too spoilery on it, but you can tell that it's a work in progress that is not finished yet. So I finished what's currently there. And I guess I need to look more into this, but I have to assume lots more is coming, essentially, and it's not there yet.
You think it'll come as kind of DLC, or will it come as Fantasian too?
I don't know. This is another thing I need to look up, because it doesn't end like the end of a first game and you're waiting for the second game. It ends like the middle of a first game and you're waiting to insert disc 2.
Yeah, so did Trails of Cold Steel.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah, so something like that. So it's done. Anyway, it's as far along as I can get it. So it was time to move on. And I wasn't really sure what to go for. So in the meantime, I was playing some Persona 5 Strikers on Switch, and that got me in there right away. It's fantastic. It actually is so good and feels so much like Persona 5 Royal, in terms of graphics and music and all that it still continues to blow my mind that Persona 5 is not on the Switch. Like, it's like watching Persona 5 on the Switch. It can obviously run on the Switch, but it's not there. So Strikers is great. Like, it is really good. The gameplay is a bit different, of course, than Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal, but it's excellent in its own right. And I was definitely drawn in immediately, and was going hard at that until last night on a whim. I'm like, wait, Final Fantasy VII Remake is releasing tonight for the PS5. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just try and get it downloaded and, get it all set up and all that. And it's actually fairly unintuitive to get the free upgrade, which you can only get from either the paid digital version or the disc version. So not the PS Plus free version, which makes it really complicated. So I actually you have to basically install the PS4 version onto your PS5, upload your save games individually, then you can download the PS5 upgrade from the PSN and download your saves into that. It's complicated and cumbersome. And if you do any of the steps in the wrong order, it doesn't really work. So it probably took me the better part of an hour to get it actually started. But man, when it got started, that's it. Like, that's what I'm playing for the next, however long it takes me to beat it. I had my my PS5 headphones on, and it just looks and sounds so good on the PS5. The load times are like non-existent. It's incredible to play on the PS5. And so I'm definitely going to do a run of that for the next however long it takes. I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit. I'm not going to be going for a completion round this time, but wow.
I'm not going to worry about every match I hidden around every corner.
Totally. I'm going to do the basic just as fast as I can, basically, through the story. And I'm going to do the DLC, the Yuffie DLC. Yeah. And then I'm done. But man, that's still one of my favorite games to come out in the last little while here.
It was just so much fun to play. I have to actually figure out what box I stored my disc in after I beat it, so I can do that. But the install process sounds a lot like when I was upgrading Spider-Man. Because if you bought Miles Morales on disc,
right,
it came with the Spider-Man upgrade.
Right.
But you still needed your Spider-Man disc from the PS4 and basically all the steps you said. So yeah, that they needed to make that smoother somehow. I don't know how, but they needed to make that smoother somehow.
It needs to be easier for sure. Like, I could see people getting frustrated about this.
Yeah.
I was invested to get it done. and I'm a tech guy, and still I felt like it's super unintuitive. You need a guide to get it done, basically.
It would help if they had a more streamlined way to deal with the saves.
Right. But they do. They're all cloud saves. Like, I don't know why.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I'm not saying they can't have a more streamlined way. They just need to implement it.
Yes, it's all available there. It's not like there isn't processes in place to copy. Like, feels like it should have been easy, but it was really hard.
Like the PS5 should just recognize the PS4 save.
Totally.
That's on your account.
That's simple. And maybe you have to have the PS4 disc in there to prove that you own it. Sure. That's fine.
Yeah, that's
but the
fine.
rest of it should have been automatic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
agree. Yeah, I don't think you should have to download the PS4 version to get the PS5 version. It should just have to see that you have it.
Yeah, and hilariously, it took longer to copy the data from the PS4 disc than it did to download the 82 gig download file for the PS5 version.
That's crazy.
It's just a silly experience all around.
Do you have to have the PS4 disc in to play it?
You do, yeah. Or a digital paid copy, right?
Not to download it though, but to every time you go to play it.
I think the disc has to be in there every time you play it.
See, with Spider-Man, at least, that they didn't do.
I could be completely wrong here as well, now that it's like downloaded to the system. And again, I was looking at this and that and trying to figure it all out. But I thought it said you needed the disc in there. I might be completely wrong here. I'll try tonight.
Yeah, let us know. That'll do it for this episode. We, like I said, we have a lot of games coming up. We have a lot of games coming up over the next 4 or 5 days, and we're going to be up tirelessly looking at them, dissecting the trailers, deciding what we like, what we want to talk about, and what we want to bring to you. Mm-hmm. So as always, thank you very much for tuning in. If it's your first time, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button, and comment below on what you saw today, what you saw from Summer Game Fest Kickoff that you liked, that you want to see more of, that you're wanting to play. And we will talk to you, and we will see you very, very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate you so much. Hopefully you'll enjoy the content we bring to you over the next very exciting week.